but I want to speak to Joseph Kotrie-Monson now, who's a criminal defence lawyer and director of Kotrie-Monson Solicitors. Joseph, you're very welcome to the programme, because tonight the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, has been speaking to a number of backbenchers in his party about changing jury trials, and if it's for a case where the sentence would be under 3 years, well, it's probably going to move to a judge-only trial. But about 80 backbenchers, one of them we want to speak to tonight, actually has dropped out because of illness. But the Courts and Tribunals Bill, which would enact the changes, is due to go before the Commons tomorrow. That has been called unworkable and unjust by Carl Turner, who's a former Shadow Solicitor General. He's the Labour MP for Kingston upon Hull East. He says the government need to realise that the votes against these unworkable jury proposals are solid, and MPs will vote against them unless it comes back with a sensible compromise. I am yet to meet anyone in the law who thinks this is a good idea or will speed things up in any tangible way. Are you the first person who's going to defy that expectation and thought, Joseph?
Sorry to disappoint Peter. Good evening to you. Good evening to your audience. Well, why are we in this mess, I think, is the first question one should ask. Successive governments, starting really with the late 90s Labour government, who seemed addicted to the idea of justice on the cheap. And it's right, the measures will not work. And how do we know that? I'd say that the best evidence of that, probably, Peter, is the fact that this government has managed to do what I've always thought might be impossible, and that's to unite all parts, as you say, of the legal profession. The hippie defence lawyers, the left-wing, whatever, activists, if those people exist. I don't meet many of them, because actually we're just trying to do a job, most of them.
I've one who slightly followed me around, who's a sort of... He wanted to deprescribe Hamas, and I interviewed him, and the interview didn't go particularly well for him. Well, he is certainly a lefty activist who's a barrister.
I certainly don't approve of that. But on the other hand, you have the kind of, the classic prosecutorial, let's work in the system, and you know, the more conservative end of the profession, because like every other walk of life, you have the more liberal, the more flexible, or whatever, in terms of...
But basically everybody thinks this is a bad idea.
Everybody thinks this is a bad idea, Peter. And yet the measures will not work. It's going to take, I've read, until the late 2030s before this fantastic measure, which I have to say, the fact, I think I'm beginning to be suspicious that the government even know that it won't work. And this is actually
why are they doing it, Joseph? What is their rationale for it?
I think, and this is where, cynically, and I don't have evidence of this, but I think there's a sense in which every time the justice system is diminished, every time our rights are eroded, it makes government more powerful. And government, you know, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, at least I don't like to think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but the idea of something as renegade as 12 people deciding whether a government action, a prosecution, is successful or not, and they're 12 people off the street who don't have a vested interest, you know, that's not something government, I think, is generally particularly happy with. They like us to potter around and to pay our taxes and get our direct debits out on time and do what we're told. But that's not really, you know, we're having a philosophical conversation now. I think the fundamental thing is this. First of all, why are we in this mess? This is government upon government upon government, closing courts, reducing sitting days that could be reinstated tomorrow.
Are they just afraid of doing the big stuff that actually needs to be done? Because my view, I worked in the Ministry of Justice for 6 months as a special advisor, and my view is, and has been since that time, the whole thing needs fundamental reform. Sitting days is a really good example of something that could be changed. You know, the fabric, quite literally, doing up a few magistrates' courts might be a good idea, because some of them are falling apart. There are leaks. Someone was messaging me the other day about a particular magistrates' court. In fact, I'm going to find it now while you answer that question about what you think the government should actually do.
It's funny you should talk about magistrates' courts. It's not LA law. It's not Ali McBeal. It's not even Ron Paul of the Bailey leaking. I mean, don't get me wrong. I and my colleagues in criminal defence and prosecution, we are not in it for a glitzy Instagram. This is my day, and I get up and have my coffee in the morning type of life. We just want to do the job.
This is I found out. My friend who's a barrister says Kingston Crown Court, one of the biggest in the country, major terrorist court. The cells were flooded with sewage last Wednesday, so no custody hearings for a couple of days is what he messages me, stuff that goes on in the court system, and that's what he said.
And they don't want to spend the money. And of course, you're right that this is a government, and we're straying into the political again, but this is a government where, there has been a bit of a fear, perhaps in the name of staying in power, of not taking bold decisions. You can apply that to the economic position, and that others who are experts in this in a way that I'm not will have many examples in that regard. But fundamentally, it's dangerous because these are old rights. There's no sunset clause on this. This is forever. We are talking about people who could be convicted of a low level, if there is such a thing, sexual offence beyond the sex offenders register, on the basis of being one of 10 hearings in a day, where the adjudicator of fact is a judge who has spent his or her career on the bench seeing guilty people. And imagine what that does for one's level of cynicism, even if they're trying to do a good job, as we must assume that they are. And of course, dishonesty offences. We're getting to the stage now where, and we know what the stain of a conviction for a dishonesty offence is. If you're deprived a jury trial, you are barred from certain walks of life, and not necessarily just politics and fancy professions or whatever, for life. These are indelible marks, and there's a reason. There's a reason that there were wars and uprisings 1,000 years ago about this, and the slow evolution, not the immediate institution of Magna Carta. The idea that one should have an opportunity to be judged by neutral people. And that's been eroded in all types of ways. And these are serious offences. And how is it, Peter, that we're talking about Malkinson and the post office one week or 1 month and saying this is absolutely terrible? Those were cases themselves which suffered with some of the other ailments of the system, some of the other aspects of disclosure and funding, and defence lawyers not really being equipped to instruct the experts that they wanted to prove, and as they could have proved the innocence, or even shed doubt on a prosecution that was corrupt, on the one hand. And a few weeks later, we're not supposed to join the dots and realise that these are those same rights. I think it's disgraceful. And I haven't particularly spoken out on this. Andrew Thomas, KC, the leader of the criminal bar, and others have spoken with authority and eloquence in a way that my voice is not necessary here, but I am angry.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you for that, Joseph. I can hear it, and I know how you feel, and thank you for joining us this evening. I appreciate that. Joseph Kotrie-Monson there, criminal defence lawyer and director of Mary Monson.